Often, parents of gifted children notice that their children have a ton of niche interests, and they aren't sure how those interests fit together or how to nurture their children's passions in a meaningful way. This parent, in a recent virtual event, shared that their young scholar is interested in koalas and wildlife veterinary medicine, butterflies, and rehabilitation for dogs. This young scholar is curious and an avid reader of history. They aren't afraid to ask questions about animal deaths or the details of colonialism. Here's Laurel Griffiths, the Director of Family Services, talking through how some of these interests might connect with one another and giving some ideas about how to nurture this young scholar's various passions. Stay tuned after the video for more information on the benefits of the Young Scholars Program and how you can directly access features like these virtual events.
My young scholar 5 is really excited about oh my gosh, koalas. I love koalas. That was when I was 5, my bedroom was koalas. Wildlife veterinary medicine, butterflies, and rehabilitation for working dogs, i.e. TSA dogs, livestock guardian dogs. We are trying to help her find intersections. Would appreciate it if you might have some ideas. Something else we are struggling with is when some material might not be age appropriate, even when we help her find books that are written for children. For example, she read last night that some dogs are put down and was curious about what this means. Last month, she was reading about Gandhi and it ended up asking about British colonialism and slavery. Any guidance is super appreciated. I want to be mindful about her age, but also don't want to get her in way too much. Okay. So, right, we're talking about zoology here, right? With the koala, well, like with the veterinary medicine, right? Like veterinary medicine and rehabilitation for working dogs very closely aligned. And with this interest in the living world, right? One of the things that you might look at is volunteering with the Humane Society or other organizations like that, and wildlife rehabilitation groups in your area. It might not be working dogs specifically, but you would be dogs at the Humane Society, and might not be koalas, because we don't have a lot of those in our country. But you might get more into like, what does wildlife rehabilitation look like on the ground level in our day-to-day? And those organizations might be able to hook you up to more things. You might also be able to arrange like days as a zookeeper, or days like behind the scene tours at wildlife rehabilitation centers or refuges. In northern Nevada, we have a lot of like focus on wolf conservation and things like that. So I know that we have a conservatory here that focuses on that. So looking for those types of things and asking kind of for behind the scenes or day in the life of might be getting some more on the ground. And then of course that can be at her level because they will see what she's interested in. You can set up like guidelines ahead of time. And it is going to happen probably sooner rather than later. The discussions about like death, the discussions about the poor treatment that animals receive often, and what you can do as a parent is, knowing that that's on the horizon, think about ahead of time how you want to approach those questions with her. Because if she's getting some ideas about British colonialism and slavery, it's not going to be very far down the line that we're going to learn about like the not so great history of poaching and you know, the inhumane treatment that some animals received in like zoos and carnivals and things like that. And those things are probably not too far down the line. I know that it can feel overwhelming to talk to a 5-year-old about those things, and she's not alone in the young scholar community about having those big questions. One book that you might look at in terms of like guidance around how to have those conversations is Searching for Meaning, Idealism, Bright Brains, Idealism, Bright Minds, Disillusionment, and Hope by Jim Webb. That book has a lot about how to go into these bigger existential kind of questions. And for the other things that you run into, one of the things that if your student has like big questions, if you can say like, hey, that's a really big subject and I want to like really give you a good answer on a lot of your questions. Can you give me a couple of days? And then going and talking to going and talking to a local children's librarian or a local independent bookseller and seeing if they have books on that subject, because these days they have books on most things, including, for example, British colonialism and slavery that are written as children's books, and giving intro to those subjects in age appropriate ways. So going and asking your local librarian or your local independent bookseller may give you guidance on the specific topic that comes up, because it's hard to predict exactly what's going to come up.
Thank you for watching. Check out the cultivated resources we have on our Davidson Gifted blog, linked below. The Davidson Young Scholars Program provides our members with opportunities to connect, engage, and access a range of family services to support them on their profoundly gifted or twice exceptional path. Want to learn more? We host application Q&As for families to learn more about our program, our testing requirements, and our application. Visit our website, davidsongifted.org, and find the next available Q&A under the Upcoming Events tab. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.